Sports. Running, jumping, throwing, snowing, swimming, growing. Actually, it's only the first one we're talking about. Men or women run from point A to point 2, and whoever hits the most boost pads and goes through that ribbon right at the end wins the first prize for best running. Simple, right? Wrong. Apparently. Yes, the IAAF thinks that you should compete with people of your biological sex, but not if you have a natural disposition for being better than the average person. If you happen to follow competitive running at all, unlike myself, you probably know about Caster Semenya. See, Semenya is a biological woman who was born with naturally high testosterone. Testosterone builds muscle, skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle. Obviously, having more muscle is an advantage in sports. And the IAAF, they wanted to allow elite female athletes to compete on a level playing field. They're making this happen by forcing female athletes with high testosterone to take hormone blockers. What? Yo, dog, that shiz be hella whack. That shiz do be hella whack. Testosterone blockers can have some crazy side effects, at least short term. They have effects on people's bodies and mental state. Forcing them to compete like this wouldn't just be making an even playing field. This would be forcing them to compete with differences in fat distribution and muscle growth and effects like nausea and dizziness. Okay, so first off, what is this? The International Association of Athletics Federations, that's the IAAF that I've been mentioning, they decided to, put a cap on testosterone in women's sports for women who want to compete in the 400 meter to a mile race. That, this brings me to section number 1 of this video. Reasons that this sucks, according to Adam. That's me. Reason number 1, it's discrimination. These people are not being allowed to compete because they have just a natural advantage. In pretty much every other way, they're biologically female. They just have naturally higher testosterone, and in some cases, they don't have ovaries. The IAAF has actually admitted to this being discrimination, and the court has also ruled that it is discrimination. Reason 1.1, not only is it discrimination against specific women, it's discrimination against only women. Hi, I'd like to report a sexism. This ruling will only affect female athletes. Males with extremely high testosterone will still be able to compete in international events as long as they're for men. Reason 1.2. These rules are directly targeting Caster Semenya. Caster over here, she's made quite the name for herself in the past 10 years. In 2009, she won the gold medal for the 800-meter race in the World Championships. Directly after that, she had to undergo a gender verification. This was due largely in part to her appearance and speeds at which she was running. Now hop over 2 years later, in 2011, the IAAF decided to put a cap on testosterone in women's running. The Court of Arbitration for Sports put a little sneaky on them and decided to suspend the ruling. Now, Semenya went on to win 2 gold medals at the Olympics and 2 more gold medals at the World Championships. The IAAF has now decided to take a little trip down memory lane and, give that cap another try. They introduced the cap on the 3 distances that Semenya runs the most, the 400, 800, and 1500 meter. I'm the IAAF driving in my car. Let's take a little bit of a zoom. Reason 2. The ruling is being implemented only for women, and that's not just bad because it doesn't affect men. For things very similar to this, men have been absolutely celebrated and acclaimed. A great example of this is Michael Phelps. His ankles are double jointed. His wingspan is 3 inches longer than it should be. He has an upper body like the hull of a boat. And he is the anti-Trump, with the disproportionately large hands. To top it all off, Phelpsy over here, he doesn't even generate half the lactic acid that a normal person does. That's absolutely, insane. This man has so many, gifts that he just naturally has that make him so perfect for swimming. It's like Poseidon sneezed, and that sneeze was Michael Phelps. And rightly so, he's been celebrated for years. Then we hop on over here, and there's Caster Semenya. She has above average muscle mass and red blood cells due to testosterone. And now she has to change her hormones to compete. That's reason. Oh my god. Reason 3. People should be celebrated for their advantages and differences. Instead, Caster Semenya and a few other people are being told to change themselves. So here's a bunch of comparisons that I wrote down when I stayed up until 4 in the morning. That's like telling a smart kid that they would have to take a brain-blocking drug because they're categorized as a genius. That's like telling someone with super fast metabolism to eat more and exercise less because they don't struggle with their weight. That's like in Slumdog Millionaire when they torture him because he happened to know all the answers. And that would only half make sense. That's like assaulting someone who's never been assaulted before because they didn't have to go through the physical and emotional trauma of that. That's like telling Michael Phelps not to compete in anything physical because the man is a golden god when it comes to lactic acid. Moving on to section 2. Solution / what can we do to fix this problem that we have on our hands here / just some other opinions that I have about the subject. Solution 1, we could just sit back, relax, pop open a Capri Sun, just have a nice time. Solution 2, another obvious solution is to just take away the cap. Short term, I think that's what needs to happen. And Semenya and our lawyers have been working on this for a while. Unfortunately, it hasn't gone too well. Solution 3 is to make competitions for women and women with high testosterone / trans people separate. And solution 4, with the rise in gender changes or fluidity, it might be a good idea to change the way that most sports are divided. Now, this change should be heavily inspired by a nice 6-course meal of brain damage, ginger dudes with tattoos, crazy character customization, blood, a second, larger helping of brain damage, and minimal clothing. I'm talking MMA, baby! MMA is divided up into weight classes. Obviously, this isn't something that could work for everything, but an idea like it could. Instead of dividing by sex, running could divide by levels of testosterone or something as simple as body type or ability level. Now, this would be a great solution for gender fluid or trans people, as it would be taking sex or gender just out of the equation. This way, no one is being discriminated against. The playing field is leveled because you're not dividing by gender or sex. Okay, so let's make a pros and cons list. Pro, this way no one is being discriminated against. The playing field is becoming more level by simply not dividing by sex or gender. Con, this would require an entire revamp of the way that the sports work. Pro, this would help break down the divide between gendered sports. Con, there are a lot of sports where this just isn't feasible. Pro, great female athletes would get a lot more recognition. Con, average or mediocre female athletes would get a lot less recognition. Another con, people are sexist. This would cause outrage in certain parts of the sporting community. But pro, after all of the outrage is calmed down, we could truly appreciate sport for what it is and not necessarily the gender that is playing. Obviously, I'm not going to be the one to make this decision, and I'd have to be a lot closer to the sport to really understand if this would work. And these are only a few options. The important part is knowing about this issue and bringing it to light. So, let's pop open a Capri Sun and just enjoy life as we try to make the world a better place, one step at a time.